welcome to the third episode of Fooling Around with Noel Gonzalez, aka FANG. Today, I have one of my really, really good friends, Ahmed, and he's pretty much been through this whole podcast journey since the beginning, encouraging me and pushing my ass to put up new content. But
keep going.
Welcome to my house and my studio. If you notice, there's a green screen now, which I still don't know how to fucking use, but we're gonna figure it out as I go along.
Yeah.
So cheers. You don't have a drink, but clink.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I have Ahmed here because every time we get together and start talking, we just get on every freaking tangent. And this is probably not gonna be the smoothest podcast, but I don't care. This is my podcast. I can do whatever the fuck I want.
Good luck. Try to keep up.
I mean, like, if we get like really lost, I'll probably like clip it together where it makes sense.
Yeah. You should probably take notes.
Like be like, make sure to cut that part out. That's a good idea. Let me get my handy dandy FANG notebook out.
We could just remember where we started.
Oh yeah. So
At least that. We could keep circling back.
So
I want to talk about the Navy thing you asked me about today. Is that
pretty cool. Kind of embarking on some new stuff that I haven't really made public yet because I'm still in the
I put you on the spot.
Yeah, you did, but it's cool. It's recording.
Yeah.
I like every video I've recorded so far. I've been like, is it? Yeah, it's recording. Super unprofessional.
You just gotta trust yourself.
Super unprofessional.
30 minutes later, like, oh god, it didn't record.
No, like my episode 2 had super staccato. Like the YouTube version and the podcast version are not the one and the same. It's right. Like parts are missing from the video where it's just like blacked out. But anyway, I've been working on it for a little bit of time, and I've gotten a little bit more information of where I want to go. So pretty much anyone who's known me for a long time knows that I've had interest in the Navy, and recently I've been propositioned to try to be the first female Navy SEAL, which is still far along a ways because physically it's challenging. But yeah, it'd be super freaking cool. Even if it doesn't go through, because I know there was another woman, like 2 women who had qualified to go into their like the official Navy SEAL training, and I know that they've quit since, so they are not currently. They didn't make it into the SEALs, which, hey, the fact that women can actually qualify and train the same way as the men do for the SEALs, like, freaking awesome.
That's pretty cool.
I never really thought of myself in that way, but 8 years ago, when I first started being interested and when I first tried to sign up, I was inspired by G.I. Jane, who, if you know the movie with Demi Moore, she tried, I think for journalism reasons, she went and tried to train as a Navy SEAL, and she was told over and over again that she was too soft, women aren't cut out for this, and she became the sickest, dopest SEAL that they had. It was a movie from the 90s, I think, and only until I think last year did they even have women qualify in a real way and not just movies. So I think it's super cool, super big, and I'm down for the challenge. I've started running.
How much time does that consume? Like, will you be able to do this and that?
So I'm planning on being active, so you heard it first. We'll see if this makes it to the cut, but I'm looking to be gone in like October at the earliest. I basically told them that I didn't want to go any earlier because I have a god kid on the way and I need to make that for the birth of my baby godchild, and I have my cousin's wedding that I have in September as well. So as for the podcast, I'm gonna cram as many episodes as I can, basically using it as an excuse to chill with homies, maybe for the last time, maybe not for the last time. We don't know yet. But yeah, I'm gonna try to work on it as much as I can. If I can bring my equipment wherever I go, I will definitely be
that would be cool.
chronicling my journeys
Can you
wherever.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. I still can't see myself as a SEAL. And you're probably gonna be like, what qualifications does this girl even have? But I don't know if it's some kind of quota that the recruiters are trying to fill, because like it would be amazing as a recruiter to be like, oh, I recruited the first female Navy SEAL to actually make it in. And they also base it on scores. It's not all physical, there's a big mental aspect to it. But apparently my test scores are very impressive. And although I'm too old to qualify for the nuclear propulsion program that I initially qualified for when I was younger, the only way I'd qualify for that program is if an admiral, which is the highest ranking, would sign a waiver for me to go into nuclear propulsion. So that's another option for me as well. But your girl's going places. Your girl's doing things. Yeah. But yeah, if this all goes well, maybe I'll have a nice career in intelligence. And we'll see where that goes. I feel like the world is just unfolding now, and I feel like this is when you start living. Earlier I tweeted that it's crazy how you can live your whole life, but you can pretty much start living at any time for however long or however brief. And I feel like now, like 27 years is a long time to live, but it's really not. Your whole life up till this point is just getting to know yourself, really. Yeah. And taking the signs that the world gives you and creating your own life out of that. But yeah, thanks for putting me on the spot.
No problem. You can just edit that right out.
No, I mean, I don't mind. I'll post this up. I mean, I got to tell people sometime, but maybe I'll hold this part for when like I get the official news, or like I get classified for real. And I talk a little bit more specifics, because I only just found out about the SEAL program this week. Yeah, I thought it was a joke. They're like, hey, what do you plan on doing? Like, as long as you use my intelligence and my abilities to the furthest that they can go, I don't mind. AKA, as long as I'm not like building shit and doing dumb stuff, I'll be fine.
Dumb stuff.
Yeah, like, I mean, not putting down everyone is a necessary piece of that machine of the military, but I wouldn't want to waste what's in here on putting out oil fires or something. Like,
you want to put it to a specific use.
Yeah, right. And it would be awesome, especially because I advocate so strongly with women who kick ass. And the realization I came to is what has made me, in every corner of my life, what has given me satisfaction and pride, and it's always been the kick ass things I've done, from rollerblading to boxing. To being able to shoot a gun and have great aim. Every single thing that I've done has given me pride and excitement has been in that field. And I'm like, why haven't I done this? All the signs are there, but yeah.
Sometimes you're just not on that path yet,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think sometimes I'm like, when I was 19, would I have been able to still make that same put the puzzle pieces together the same way? And I don't think I would have, and I probably wouldn't have used myself in the best way. I wasn't even in the best physical shape at 19. I was skinny, but I wasn't strong. I hadn't learned half the things that I'd learned now, and here we are, filming a podcast.
There's a gym right there.
Oh yeah, I have a punching bag.
That's how serious it
is. On
is.
the other side of
We're in the gym right now.
Studio/gym/bed.
Yeah.
I have such a ghetto studio with like the green screen that ends there, mattress for sound proofing.
Whatever
but
it takes.
Yeah. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah.
So tell me, Ahmed put me on this website called Big Think, and it's not that serious. It's. I mean, talk a little bit about it because I don't fully know too much about Big Think. I've only really watched a couple posts, but so far,
yeah,
I loved it.
Yeah, I mean, since I graduated college, I've just still been wanting to like keep in the loop. One of the first things I did after graduating was recruit, and when you recruit, I was recruiting for like big firms, and when you recruit for them, you kind of have to be aware of what's happening in the market, and what kind of decisions and projects are being won by who, what kind of decisions are being made around it, and then on Big Think, they really do a good job of like covering multiple things like linguistics, social psychology, economics, all fundamental things for someone who's a recruiter who needs to kind of predict job market things and be ready for it and make sure they have a healthy network in place and make sure they're picking up people in college even or younger, as long as they're on that path. You got to build that relationship as soon as you can. So a Big Think is like a really good, it gives you a general scope of everything. They pick up professors who are excelling in a certain category, and that professor gets to speak. Especially, I mean, they've had Steven Pinker and other ones who even Jordan B. Peterson, like they cover everyone in the spectrum. They're pretty objective. Sometimes they'll post something that like creates controversy, and they'll follow it up with more like based on the interest of the community and the feedback they get. They'll follow that topic up and get more experts on it and cover it in more detail. Recently, they released something about acupuncture, and it got some interesting feedback, and I think they might do more on it.
Yeah. You've been sending me links and different posts. Excuse me. Like I said, I burp a lot since episode 1. If you even follow, I just like actually didn't even try. Just burped straight into the camera. By the way, that water is for you if you'd like it. If you ever needed it. Yeah, here at FANG, we take care of our guests with a nice bottle of water. So yeah, you've been sending me links and posts for a while. I try to keep up. One that I saw recently when I actually had some time to explore Big Think is the most recent post that I saw was I forgot who it was. I'm really terrible at remembering important people's names.
Oh yeah, I'm bad with names.
I'll like listen to like podcasts or posts or news, and I'll know about what the topic and the subject matter is, but who is presenting it, names, don't know. That guy who had that idea on this topic. But anyway, someone had done a Big Think post on they connected Trump's follower base or fan base, however you want to call it, people who voted for him, people that are still supporting him, whatever. They compared that and him to a cult. And so the person presenting on it was someone who had a lot of expertise on theology and religious and on all types of religions. So I
think his name is Reza Aslan. I might be. I don't know if I butchered it.
That sounded legit to me.
Guess.
That sounded really legit to me.
I know they were talking specifically about his like evangelical following, the religious core. I don't know how much of his following that is. I don't know if it's like half or like more or less. But it's significant enough that there's certain individuals in that community who have publicly voiced their perspectives on him in a positive way, and that community has like been pretty fond of him because as he has promised them certain things that so I mean there's some interesting points.
I like the idea that you're kind of opening different topics, especially that one post or topic about relating the Trump followers or fan base. I'm just gonna keep calling them fan bases because he's a celebrity. He's a I mean, he's technically a celebrity, so he has followers. I don't consider them anything else but followers. I like that they put that link and connected it to religion and how basically, I forgot what point they were trying to make, that they were
worshiping him.
Yeah. And Trump is or who the fuck said it?
Were you talking about the material?
Yeah, the material. So the guy who was presenting basically was saying something about Trump and his followers wanting to break that whole separation of church and state, and now being able to have the church or religion present their take based on their religious beliefs. Whereas up till now, we always had, the delineation of separation of church and state, even though a lot of political, happenings have to do with a lot of religious.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to separate church and state because the church can influence votes and votes dictate the state. I mean, there's also, policies that there shouldn't be policies that oppress one group and liberate another. I mean, it's all like really tough ground, those things. That's why there's moderates on both sides of it who have like legitimate concerns and arguments. But right now you mostly hear the far people, the far right and the far left.
Yeah.
It's hard to hear anything besides them on social media.
Yeah, and it's hard when it's something that's so enraging. It's so hard for people who are more liberal to just stay quiet. And at the same time, it's kind of like, all right, well, you guys are extremists in a certain way where, I mean, I'd rather be an extreme liberal than be an extreme...
You should avoid avoid extreme and radical behavior. For the most part. You can have some fun, but yeah, there's extremes on both sides. And they usually clash. And that's why you end up having... Sometimes you start only hearing about them in the news or like on social media. That's what gets shared. You never get to hear the moderate stuff anymore. People are they're taking sides now,
It's annoying because everything you see, like information being so accessible, which is great, but it's almost like everything you see you have to take with a grain of salt, unless it's like an extremely reliable source that like never lies or never like does propaganda shit. But it's almost like the responsibility's on us or you to take it as to stay woke. And I hate that phrase because
you just have to keep like what I see a lot of people doing nowadays is that they have one news source, and that's insane. Like no matter what you do, all news sources are going to have some bias. They're going to be made up by people who have certain values. Whoever started it is going to have certain values. They're probably not going to deviate far from their values. So they're going to have biases, like just naturally. That's why you should have multiple news sources across the spectrum. Like listen to everybody and think for yourself. Like critically assess the information. Who's like they're obviously saying opposite things now. Like if you're following Trump, Fox, Infowars, Breitbart, or if you're following like CNN, Politico, BBC News, like just Now This, BuzzFeed, like you should have as many sources as Guardian, New York Times, LA
Facebook.
Times, like all the main. Well, if they're all of them are, some people use Facebook and follow all of these things I just mentioned,
100%,
and that's their news feed.
No,
like it's not the traditional sitting in front of the TV watching cable television anymore.
And we see a lot of it in like the older generation, like our parents who like have just started using Facebook or whatever, and you're getting this information shoved at you, and a lot of the older generation who didn't grow up with technology don't really know how to filter out trolling and fake news and real sources. Like my dad, who will just come at me with like, oh, bananas aren't good for you. Like, what's your source? What's your basis for this? And that's dangerous because baby boomers are most likely to vote. And yeah.
Is that true? I don't know.
I don't know about now. I think the whole Trump thing has woken up a lot of
I'm interested
people.
to see what's going to happen with these primaries and the next election.
Yeah. I'm not one to boast for voting. Like, I'm not the one who's like, go vote, get your stick. Like, and I'm over here trying to be like, please, we can't have this. We can't have this happen again. Like, we just can't. Like, if you've never voted in your life, vote for this one. At least if you're not for Trump. Like, if you for Trump, just stay your ass home. We should just like be like, oh yeah, you can vote. You could vote online. Just I'll get you this link, and it's like a completely fake site. I wish.
You know what's you know what's interesting? Like this area, like it's relatively red. Like there's a lot of Republicans, even though we're in the heart of New Jersey. There's like a good amount of Republicans around us, but the Jersey itself is a blue state. Yeah, you know, we're like right on the border, and so you have some interesting things happening to the culture in a certain climate.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I was really surprised when I was watching the election race in 2016 that like New Jersey was like in certain counties were super close to being red, to being tipped over to the Trump side, and until it was really close, and it was alarming. Even not that I didn't know that these people exist, because New Jersey is a very like
it's
cop-y state, whereas like everyone knows an uncle who's a cop or a dad who's a cop, brother who's a cop. And not saying that, you know, if you're a cop, you're for Trump.
I think that's true about Central Jersey. But they've aligned it. Yeah.
They like during the election, they've purposely aligned Trump with support for, you know, the police and the cops, which is great. I mean, but they've kind of made like America Pride, Make America Great Again, like a cop agenda. And like aligning it with that, even though it doesn't necessarily mean they're synonymous with each other.
They're aligning with the military and the police force.
Yeah. Which is one of the reasons why I was kind of like, oh, I don't want to serve under this joke of a president. But
you're not holding back at all.
I mean, who the fuck's gonna watch this? But no, I'm not holding back, because I mean, when you're representing, you know, the military or something like that, you are aligned with the idea that you're super prideful, like American hero, pride in America, and that's aligned with the idea that you go for Trump. But I don't think that's the case. I'm just hoping that
it's propaganda and marketing. I mean, you're tying. It's like nationalism. You know, people have pride about being American, and then you just make being American about something, like anything, and you just reinforce it. I mean, obviously, police force, military, like heart of America, like backbone infrastructure of America that keeps America upright. So, I mean,
it wasn't always that way, but I mean, it was super heightened because of all the fuckery. Excuse me, all the fuckery that's went on. That basically were like, okay, police brutality equals all police. We're the same as Black Lives Matter are all extremists, and
people argue like that, yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, I've felt that bias where I'm like, oh, I met a friend who just became a cop, and then all of a sudden I'm like acting brand new, where I'm like, oh, I can't say these things because it's a very ignorant way to think, but it's almost like instinct. It's almost like innate to jump to that, which I caught myself. I'm like, are you cool though? It's almost like a test where it's like, are you cool?
Yeah, I think that's just you because you were a troublemaker.
No.
You're like, oh wait, authority.
Yeah, it's like, am I allowed to voice the certain opinions that I have, or it's like super casual, and it's not necessarily.
You can say anything you want.
I know, but it's like what, like for instance, if I mention like marijuana or something, and you're a cop or whatever, like that doesn't necessarily mean that you've lost who you are. You're just now working for this. But the tendency is I see a lot of hard asses out there, especially in New Jersey. It's just not.
I have a couple police friends. They're pretty cool. I have a couple people who are anti-police. I mean, I understand the sentiment. Like some cultures, they only see the police when it's bad, and it's always against them. So then you just have an anti-police. I mean, whenever one of your relatives was taken away, it was by a police officer or someone in a suit. So that culture is pretty justified.
You want a ginger snack? Ginger gummy?
I might.
Have you ever had one of these before? They actually taste like ginger. So if you don't like what raw ginger tastes like, you probably wouldn't want it.
Yeah, I'm okay.
Like, this is an actual candy. Asians be doing the darnest things because only Asians would make literally something you would take out of your food into a delectable snack. But yeah, shit. Ahmed always opens my mind because, like, I made a comment the last time we saw each other, and he's like, as much as that would be great, you cannot say that. For your own well-being, you cannot say those extremist things, which I'm not an extremist, but it's in my fantasy.
She jokes.
I joke.
Yeah, she jokes.
Sometimes I get serious.
As long as you know who's around you and who would take that joke the wrong way, you know?
No.
Some jokes, yeah. Political correctness gone mad.
Oh, man. Oh, so when did, you just broke fast. When did Ramadan start? Like,
it started yesterday.
Oh, yesterday?
Was the first day, yeah.
Well, that's why it's, like, especially rough, because it's your first day.
Actually, yesterday wasn't bad. Like, yesterday was surprisingly easy. I don't know. I was pretty busy the whole day, so I didn't think about it. Today was pretty tough. Today I was, like, free from, like, 5 to 8, and couldn't eat till, like, 8:10. So I was just, like... So I tried to distract myself.
You know what's tough, though? It's hard because sometimes when you're hungry, it makes you revert to smoking. Because, okay, actual cigarettes. So like, we both used here and there used to smoke cigarettes, and I used to like, especially when I'm trying to do a 24-hour fast because that's the new hip thing. 24-hour fast.
Intermittent.
We just want to be like them. And I'm trying it because apparently there's some like biological health benefits and like cellular degeneration, if that's a real word, or like phagocytosis, if that's an actual, if I can remember that correctly. It might not actually apply. If you're a scientist, let me know where I'm wrong. But yeah, there's like benefits to it. So I mean, as shitty as it feels, like you're probably operating at an extremely high brainwave level.
With what, nicotine?
No, I'm sorry, with fasting.
Oh yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can't really think straight when I'm hungry all day.
Really?
Yeah, I mean.
Can you have like, you can drink actually like water and stuff, right? No?
No.
Oh, I know shit. Okay, so the 24-hour fast works because you're allowed to drink water, just water, but if you don't drink water, it can be like pink Himalayan sea salt that you kind of like mix in there, like only a little bit, to get a little bit of minerals to help with you know, regular body functions and shit. But in that case, I can see how fucking hard that is. Damn.
Yeah, I drink a lot of water before I
So right before you're like.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not good at waking up. I'm not good at that. Waking up, you'd have to wake up at like, you have to stop eating around 4 a.m. this time of the year. So like you have to wake up like
to eat
3 just to get up and make yourself something to eat and then eat. Yeah.
Damn.
I just wake up and I drink. I drink water and that's it. I don't eat. I have like 1 meal a day.
You should have like something a little heavier than water prepared
next to me.
Yeah.
Next to the bed.
Maybe like in the fridge, like prepare it the night before. Maybe like a shake, like a protein shake with like chocolate and peanut butter. That's like really heavy, and it's still relatively nutritious. Maybe throw in some spinach in there.
All right.
Like so small, like such a small amount, just to give yourself greens and like,
all right,
you know, not that I'm the healthiest person.
You do that to yourself.
I wouldn't be able to do that either. But like if I was hungry at 3 a.m., my ass would wake up if I knew that was the only opportunity I'd have to eat until past 8.
I mean, I ate before I came, and I'm eating when this is over. You know?
Yo, you should have told. I should have prepared food. Last podcast we, Jared brought hummus with pita from Edison, which shook my life. I need to put you on if you haven't actually even been there. I forgot what it's called. I have to ask him. We had a lot of chips and stuff, but and my mom brought down fish, like Filipino food. It was weird, but
Filipino food.
Yeah. Oh, and I'm thinking of having a 4th of July party, pool party, which I kind of got coaxed into because I just got a text saying, "Well, are you gonna have a pool party? Please have a pool party," and that was enough to convince me. I'm not a hard person to convince.
Just let me know when your pool's ready. Party or not.
Yeah, no, I want to have a lot more like outside stuff this summer, just because. I mean,
Might
life
as well.
moves so fast,
Yeah.
and like every time you see friends, it's always like, yeah, we're gonna make more of an effort to see each other, and then it doesn't happen. Like the older you get, the less you adhere to your, you know, hangouts and shit. And Ahmed lives like 15 minutes away from me, less maybe, and we don't even see each other that often, and that's sad.
Yeah.
Sad news bears.
Yeah. We're getting better. We're getting better.
Mm-hmm. So tell me about something else.
What else?
How's your writing coming along?
Oh God. Yeah, no, I've been just writing and writing for the past 2 years, and
Are you comfortable enough to give us like a preview of what it's about?
I
Because
mean,
you told me, but
I'm
that was a cool
I'm
one.
world building.
Yeah.
I don't remember which
It
one
was
I told you
was
about.
it Mars?
Oh, that. Yeah, I wrote a little short story. I'm editing it right now.
Yeah, we don't want to give creative content out too much, because just in case someone's creativity hunting out there and happens to stumble upon my podcast and sees how great your idea is, they're
No,
gonna.
no. I'm so confident. Like I don't care if they hear the plot and write it. I don't care.
Because like it's too much intricacies
the
that
plot.
go into that world. That's like I don't think that anyone's gonna be able to actually replicate the
It's-
intricacies
Yeah, I mean,
that goes into world
there's a lot of
building.
elements about it that make it more than just what the plot is. Like it's a kind of a comedic take on something. It's dystopian / utopian based on your perspective. Like
It's blue / it's red, depending on if you're colorblind.
Yeah. It's I'm like stress testing it right now. I'm having like certain people read it to see what kind of things are missing according to them.
I would never be able to, especially like fiction, especially if it's not exactly like just human living in a human world. Like that's like exactly world building. That's
I have so much fun.
Yeah.
With it. I have so much fun.
exactly.
Yeah, I don't know. When I was recruiting, like, I had to know what was happening in the world. And I was like, what else can I do that I don't have to be miserable? And I always wanted to, like, I don't know. I always wanted to, like, create content. I just never knew what kind of content I would create ever. Right now I'm writing, but I'm also working on a comic with my friend.
Oh shit!
That one's...
Is it an illustrated? Obviously, it's a comic, right?
Yeah. She's the illustrator.
Oh
I'm
shit!
just...
That's pretty dope.
I just give her content. Like, I give her information so she can create the concept art for it.
Yeah, was that recent?
Just working slowly on it.
Because that's really cool. That's actually a
It's like
really
a
good
side
idea.
project.
Because like I'm shit at drawing anything artistic. Like I can't. I don't. I think
takes practice.
I just started to being able to draw a circle, like a near perfect circle. All my circles look like
I don't know
like
if you're
dented.
supposed to draw circles. Supposed to perfect circles.
So my teacher
There's
from
techniques,
Catholic
like-
school told me at least that if you can draw, your intelligence is based on if you can draw a near perfect or perfect circle.
Who told you this?
So I went. This is an elementary. This isn't even
Don't
high
get
school
anybody
or
fired
college.
now.
She's probably fired or retired. She's a nun. I went to Catholic school for my whole life until college, and in I think it's like elementary, maybe it's 5th or 6th grade. She basically said, you know your you can tell your intelligence level by how perfectly you can draw a circle.
Adults need to be so careful
Yeah.
what they say around kids.
Yeah.
My
Well,
God.
you mean she was also reprimanded for hitting a kid because like she was like OG old school nun, where like back in her day, you can like tap someone's knuckles with a ruler and no one would bat an eye. No parent would dare cross authority of a teacher. Like back in the day, the teacher, everyone was right. Your kid was wrong all the time. Nowadays, like my parents treated authority that way too. It's like, oh, if my kid misbehaves, my kid's wrong. But now you have those parents and families that are like, don't reprimand my child. I think that's fucking weird.
I don't know how prevalent that is, but yeah, that happens.
I think it's
There's
really
people-
prevalent.
I'm not gonna put anybody on the spot. There's people.
You can
like
make up a name if you want, or like describe and.
I know
or
someone
depending
who
on-
does that. They always just like defend their kids in
I don't
every
like that.
situation. I mean,
I think it's within reason. Obviously, like
it's just
if
a
you believe
maternal
your
or
child,
paternal instinct, I guess.
I think
some
you're
sort.
stunting your child, and I think you're giving them this idea that the world is yours,
Yeah.
which I always say that to my nephews, like, you know, the world is yours is because you're so young. You're still this unshaped being that could, like, everything is going to shape you. But in the idea of the world is yours and take what's yours is very disturbing. And I see it on a lot of kids that, like, just do whatever they want. They'll like, just touch shit and their parents don't reprimand them. And I don't know if that's because I came from, like, a strict household of, like, like I knew not to touch things when I was little. Like I just had an extreme sense of respect when I was little. But I mean, different paths,
Yeah.
different strokes. What is it, like different strokes for different folks? That sounds sexual.
That's probably
um,
innuendo.
but yeah, like we're always on tangents. I'm always on a tangent, but
Where were we?
I mean, I was gonna talk about how the youth of today, kids these days. But yeah, I mean that's just a little tidbit of how I feel. So if you're a parent that spoils their child with that they could never be wrong, send them my way. Get them a spanking. I still believe in spanking.
Oh no.
Yeah, I still believe in spanking.
There's some things you should read about that.
I obviously there are stories that I've heard from like my older friends and colleagues that, you know, there's a difference between traumatizing a child and I was spanked very rarely. I mean, it was like extreme situations where like I just chose to be like basically the child version of fuck you mom, fuck you dad. And that's only when I would get hit. My sister, she was naughty.
Hmm?
Yeah, because she was the first child. There was no precedent for her. I mean,
I'm the first child.
you're the old, yeah.
Yeah, I got in a lot more trouble than my brother.
Mm-hmm.
My brother
Yeah.
is disciplined.
Yeah, I learned from my sister. I was like, oh, I don't want to do that. But yeah. You only have one sibling, right?
Yeah, my little brother. That's it.
What's the age difference?
5.5 years.
That's
Yeah.
pretty significant. Me and my sister are like 8-9 years.
That's pretty big.
Yeah, I mean, she still looks younger than me though. People think she's my younger sister, and they think that her child is mine because I look older. So, shit.
My friend owns like a e-hookah, like a vape company.
We're talking about the same person.
Yeah. And
How's that going?
we were talking the other day, and I was like, you guys might have to like think if things get bad, like if things get really bad with the climate change stuff, they might have to like everybody might have to have like a vape all the time or something.
What do you mean, climate change and
I mean,
unpack that for me?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we're not doing a good job of preventing.
Oh, like emissions.
Yeah, I mean.
Does that count as an emission?
I mean, there's also like a bunch of things happening in order afterwards. Like there's methane pockets that are melting into the air, which is increasing the temperature. There's the meat industry. There's a whole bunch of stuff.
Oh my
right?
gosh. Pick one and let's because I
So
so
you wanna
like
talk about climate change?
so the reason why I really started this podcast is so that people could just teach me things and I could just be like, hey, talk about this. Just kidding, but not really. But Ahmed just knows a lots of bits
Do
of.
I know? I might be wrong by a lot of stuff.
Doesn't
about a
I
lot of
mean
stuff.
you know what? I feel like this is a platform where we can just freaking talk, and
Yeah.
I feel like as long as we
Oh,
disclose,
yeah, we can speculate.
you know what I mean. As long as we disclose, like, hey, we're like not professionals in any way. This is I've seen or
Totally
heard
just
this somewhere.
If
Correct me if
someone
I'm wrong.
If someone is an expert,
Yeah.
feel free to share.
Yeah,
Your
if
take
you
on
have
it.
links or you know of a source that could give us more information on any of the topics that we're covering, please. Like I'm okay to be called on bullshit. Like I'm easy breezy. But yeah, I never thought of that's such an ignorant thing for me to think though. Is that like, oh, vapor into the air would not be an emission. It is an emission, but I just felt like it's such a especially this kind of vapor that's more natural. I thought maybe it's like less
Oh, yeah.
harmful, but
I mean, it depends. Like they're still doing research, but there was a period of time where the coils they were using were actually toxic.
oh, I
There
could
was a
see that.
period. But then
The
they
coils.
switched to a different coil that's supposed to not be toxic, and they're doing tests now.
Our friend that is in the
Oh
industry
no,
or
I
just
mean
in
like
general.
just in general. There's scientists who are
Yeah.
doing research on it right now.
Speaking of, are they the only ones in that field of e-hookah? Because I've never ever seen any other.
Yeah, everybody went straight for the handheld
Yeah.
vape, but they went for like a hookah, like
Yeah.
a stationary vape, but like
But it's on a
emulates
larger
hookah.
scale.
Also has like has a lot of utility. I mean, I want one.
No, that's what I was gonna say. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's super convenient, especially nowadays. A lot of millennials are not really buying homes. They're renting apartments, condos, things of that sort, where you have neighbors close by. So I feel like that's like super convenient because I remember in my old apartment would live in Wall Street. Like we'd smoke hookah in there, but like we were just super super careful because we didn't want neighbors to complain. But like e-hookah, I don't know, it's just more convenient. We'd burn the floor a lot.
Yeah.
That's the one
That's
thing.
the one thing that everybody who uses a
Yeah,
hookah,
he had
everybody
so
has
many
a burnt carpet.
burns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone.
Or like wooden floor. Oh, I have a burn from that one party up in my wooden floor upstairs.
Yeah.
I mean, it's virtually gone, but like that's the
Oh,
shit
yeah.
that I don't think this generation hookah, like there's like a time where hookah was just super super like to people that weren't even doing hookah for the culture, just everybody hookah. But now no one.
Yeah, around here
That's
is happening a lot. I have no idea what it was like anywhere else.
Yeah, I remember like we would go
There's
hookah
places in the
every
city,
other day.
like New York City.
Every other day, every weekend, we'd just go somewhere to hookah. We'd hookah at parties. We would bring your hookah. Like that was the thing. That was what everybody did.
None of us are doing that anymore.
No, I feel
There
like
there are people who do have the hookah, and that's the one place you'd get to go if you want to do hookah.
yeah. Or if you're Dominican living in the Bronx, or if you're in New York and you're in a bachata club, for some reason there was.
There's hookahs there.
Okay, so there's like this weird
interesting.
subculture. It's a really weird subculture, and a lot of like comedians or skit people are starting to like make fun of it. But there's this like subculture in New York with Hispanic. Maybe they generalize it as Dominican, but like when you go to like a Spanish type club, it's like a Spanish lounge that plays Latin music. There's always a place where you can buy and order hookahs. Like when was that ever a thing? I remember like one time I went in the Bronx and I'm like, oh, what the fuck? People have hookahs on the table, but it's like a regular. It's like a deli that turns into a Latin bar at night that happens to have miniature hookahs that you can order at your table. It wasn't even like Middle Eastern or anything. It was just straight up a Latin club. They just, I don't know, maybe it's because it's the only thing that could do indoor smoke that they can smoke.
I think hookah made it to Spain. I think it was part of Southern Spanish culture. I don't know.
Where's my
I
candy?
don't know if that's like where it came from.
Yes. My candy. I'm telling you, these ginger chews, like I used to not like them, but now I'm all about them, especially candy. But yeah,
We
I just remembered because I asked my friends on the last podcast how we first met, because we were like really little, and I just remembered how we first met. Because I was just about to ask it. Oh my god, I'm chewing so obnoxiously. I remember I heard on the last podcast. I swear I could probably
You
have
can just
ADD.
ask me a question. I could answer it so you could chew.
No, on the last podcast, I was just like chewing so obnoxiously, and my mom brought fish down. And I heard it on the audio. I'm like, wow, I clearly lost manners. But
Lost?
I never had them.
That's good.
That was a good dig because I don't think I have manners when I know I have to turn them on. But like when I'm in a place where I could just be myself, I'm not gonna be like.
Like when you're gonna post something publicly, who needs manners? Right?
I'm like not dainty. I'm super weird and open.
Good.
But oh yeah. So how did we first meet, Ahmed? You can go ahead and give the nitty gritty.
I had just brought my friend home. I left my friend's party to take my other friend home, and I was coming back to the party, and I park. I'm walking back to the party, and Noelle and our other friend
You can say her
pop
name.
out of nowhere in their underwear, and I was just like, "What's happening?" And they're like, "Oh, we just got shut out in beer pong." And I was like, "All right. Well, my name's Ahmed." And then they introduced themselves, yeah. And then we went back to the party.
Yeah, so
Good times.
I keep forgetting that's like who I was because I still consider myself as fun. Okay, I still think that I'm that type of person, but the reason why we were in our underwear wasn't because we're like freaking tricks or freaking hoes or anything like that. We're just really competitive in beer pong, and that night. Like, during that period of time, like, it's not even just because we're in college. It was just because it was something to be competitive about. And, like I felt like it took extreme skill to get the one pong ball into a cup, a solo cup. Why is that still so addicting? My heart is racing at the thought of beer pong right now.
Let's play right now.
Let's play right now.
Let's set up.
I saw Liv and Andy post on Instagram when they were home alone. They were just playing water pong. I guess like one of them had probably reminisced because sometimes, I'm not going to lie, I'll play pong by myself with water.
Do you drink while you do that?
No, just to like practice and so that I don't lose touch if I have a random challenge of beer pong.
I don't know how to beer pong anymore.
I whenever I play beer pong, like recently, and I tell people how good I was, like, it's almost like me shooting myself in the foot because I'm like, I swear I'm better. I swear I'm better than this. I've been 15-0.
Well.
That was my record, 15-0 at Rutgers. But yeah, I never graduated.
15-0 at Rutgers. 15-0 at Rutgers. Just saying that right now, so everybody can know.
But yeah, we were. So I had to convince us to actually do you're supposed to do a naked mile, right?
If you get shut out.
If you get shut out, if you're not familiar with beer pong, if you don't make any cups by the time your opponent sinks pretty much all the cups, that's a shutout. And you either got to run a mile or do the troll under the table, which if you really played hard, you didn't do the troll under the table. You went for naked mile.
Yeah.
But like no one ever did naked mile. Everyone always found a reason to get out of it. If it was girls, they'd be like, oh, we're not going to make the girls do the naked mile. So I was like, no. Like,
yeah, a lot
we
of people
lost. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, I'll meet you halfway. I'm not going to go naked, but like, I'm not a party pooper. If there's a dare, there's a dare. And if you lose, you lose.
Yeah.
But I never had to do naked mile again. That's when I got really good because I didn't want that shit to happen again.
And you have like 3 belts, right?
Yeah, it's fine. But yeah, shit. I feel like I'm gonna have you on more often because
we went on a few tangents still.
Yeah, we went on a lot of tangents, but
we flew past climate change. We brought it up for a second, and then we were excited, and then we were like talking about
beer pong and memories. Wait, no, I still want to talk about climate change though. Actually, I mean, we have time. Right. There's parts of this that I need to edit anyway, so it's time.
You can always cut it out and save it for later.
But yeah, it's crazy to me that how many countries are not in the Paris Accord? It's called Paris Climate
But yeah.
Paris Agreement. Oh my
Yeah.
God, I sound so uneducated. But that Paris Agreement that basically all the countries except for United States and Nicaragua and I feel like they're Iran. No,
I think they got everyone on it except for the United States now.
yeah.
There was
So
one other country.
it was
for a
Nicaragua
second.
for sure that was on
Okay.
there. I remember because my nephew's father is Nicaraguan and it just stuck out in my head. And yeah, so we're the only country that it does not want to deal with climate change or is in denial of it. And let me tell you,
We're not-
only the
we're-
president is on that page. Everyone else in America.
He's successfully dismantled like the EPA and
Yeah, these are all business reasons
like
though.
a lot of the budgeting fell right off of all those things that were important.
Yeah.
So
It's insane. It's insane to me. Like I don't know how else to.
there must be some objective. They must.
Nothing good.
Yeah.
Nothing good. And I watched this
It's old
documentary,
money interests.
which I mean, documentaries, anything. Obviously, even though I hold Netflix to high regard,
We can just. We don't have to get political about climate change because climate change is real.
It's
we
real.
can just go
Yeah.
straight to the climate change and talk about any element of it. Like, I think what most people I find don't realize like the simple fact that like Earth hasn't been like this always. Like
no.
it hasn't been like this. There was a time if we went back in time and we went to that time period, we would die immediately. Like we would choke to death because the atmosphere wasn't
Too
like
pure.
this. It was just different. I think the reason we exist and dinosaurs don't anymore was because of a comet that warped the climate.
Yeah.
Or an asteroid. I don't know. And there was also a time period when there was so much plant life on Earth that the temperature cooled, and there was
The Ice Age.
the ice age was
Or cooling.
called, and that's technically climate change is happening all the time.
Yeah.
But we're definitely warping the planet
Oh,
way
yeah.
more than like we're doing way more than
Well,
what
yeah,
is
I
naturally
mean-
supposed to be happening. Like the natural course is not we're destabilizing it just like it's happened before.
I mean, the proof is in the pudding. But like, just to anyone who wants to debunk climate change, the fact that the polar ice caps that have never been in this state before are almost, where are they? The water level is like rising, and it's insane for anyone to even try to say that. But
And there's people who argue like, oh, that was just gonna happen anyway. But there's more details than that. Like you have to understand why the like Sahara Desert is important for the ecosystem and the Amazon rainforest, like and the ice caps. All these things like affect the way the currents move on the planet, and how much rainfall and which way those like where the air vents, which way they're going. I mean, we've gotten blizzard hurricanes recently. That
the weather's been weird. Yeah, like
I don't remember those.
yeah.
Those new? Like I have never heard of a blizzard bomb hurricane thing. All of a sudden, it's a blizzard and it's a hurricane outside at the same time.
Yeah,
I mean,
and usually what triggers
I know that's
hurricanes
happened
are
But
like warm fronts or something. So that's strange for a blizzard and a hurricane to be able to kind of
well,
occur.
there's different layers on Earth. So like when climate changes, like each layer has different behavior. Like and you go from having the normal weather, then you have like abnormal weather. Like there was a dust storm also recently, and a really abnormal dust storm. It killed like several people.
Where? Or country, specific region, if you recall.
I can't remember. Maybe somewhere around the Middle East or India.
Okay.
I don't remember where exactly. But yeah, the article. That's an example. There's also like giant dead zones in the ocean, and there's one by
does that mean?
Louisiana right now.
Like where there's no currents, back and forth
no.
flow.
No, when I say dead zone, I mean like if marine life goes into it, it dies. Like it's dead. No living organism survives.
So basically, literally, like survival is not
Yeah, well,
viable.
yeah, I mean, this dead zone is pretty like massive. I don't even understand how there's certain life forms that
Hmm.
lived in that into region. I don't know how they survive something like that, like crabs and shrimp,
Yeah.
because it was right along the shore of the Gulf. There's also like patches of garbage in the ocean,
Oh yeah,
the size
that's
of
so
like,
disturbing.
what did they say? There's one the size of Texas
I
moving around.
it That sounds about right because
We're messing up pretty bad.
especially in Asia
Pretty
too,
bad.
because there's so much tourism and a lot of countries in Asia are islands. So it's very easy for a country like whatever, country in Asia. I don't even know what are their policies on like garbage and recycling out there because I remember distinctly when I used to visit the Philippines when I was younger. I think things are different now. They used to literally just burn their garbage or just let the garbage fly away because you would just have piles of garbage on the street. There's no garbage day. They just burn it. They just fucking burn it. I remember just smelling burnt garbage, and we weren't even in a bad area. It was an actual
Where was this?
neighborhood in the Philippines,
Oh,
and I don't think that's unlike where a lot of other countries or other regions in third world countries. So my curiosity is that because tourism is so high and like you definitely went up exponentially over the past decade, um, people that people in the countries themselves and those islands don't really respect the islands. But now we have tourists and stuff that don't really give a shit because they're just visiting.
convenience is just a factor. Sometimes it's just a product that like is wasteful, that just is at every hotel.
Yeah.
Um, I don't know what to say about that.
I mean, one of my friends, she's definitely gonna be a guest on one of these episodes sometime. But she's a very big advocate about like recycling and trying to make her carbon footprint less. I mean, being that she lives in New York, it's really hard because there's just like I when I went to Cali, when I went to San Francisco, the last month, I saw how different they run their city.
Mhm.
Oh, Jesus Christ! I'm sorry, I'm burping so much. Must be the beer. But I saw how differently they run the city and how much cleaner and like how much effort the businesses do to work together. I don't know if it's because the businesses choose to advocate for recycling and reusable products, but like for example, I went to an Italian restaurant and their doggy bags are made of this new material that I've never seen. It's because it's all recycled plastic bags and the recycled plastic bags are green. And I don't know if it's just because a lot of activists and people that are advocating for that agenda happen to live in San Francisco, or it's just because that city itself is just
It's
wants to be good. It's so cool because it's super. You can't tell there's so many homeless people there because it's so clean.
yeah. San Francisco housing market right now is like off the charts.
Yeah,
Like even the most like destroyed properties are selling for like 1 million.
yeah.
So
Their taxes are really high.
yeah.
It's really high. They have like they're taxed twice on like even food. Like my receipt had two separate taxes for just food, and but apparently it goes back into the city for like programs like there's like recycling
Amenities.
shit, yeah, and the businesses really support each other, and I think that's what's scary about
Silicon
climate
Valley.
change outside of California is that a lot of businesses make money off of fucking around with the climate. For example, Volkswagen,
Oh,
that whole
I did.
the Jetta that claimed to be diesel powered or something, and it was clean diesel.
There's an episode on what
Dirty
is it?
Money.
Dirty Money.
Yeah,
Is that what you're
that's.
referring?
I'm so at like I'm so out of touch with the news, like at least until this year, that or last year, that like when I found out about the Volkswagen thing, which I think a lot of other people know about, where Volkswagen, I don't remember what year it was.
No, not that many people know about it.
Yeah, so
People don't pay attention to those things. To be
I
honest.
didn't, and it's something that I feel was highly advertised because there were recalls. Like, so basically, I forget how long ago, maybe within 5 years, Volkswagen came out with the Jetta, but it's a diesel fuel that they claim to be clean diesel. So they advertised, they marketed it. Every commercial was pushing the point of clean diesel, which there is no such thing as clean diesel.
I don't remember this. I don't remember.
So basically, I don't know why diesel's good for your car.
I just remember that they just did something to cheat the tests.
That's why they were trying to push it as clean diesel, because they wanted to market so the market was shifting to people that were more conscientious about the environment and climate change. So people were no longer shopping for cars that had really shitty mileage and really shitty emissions. So Volkswagen already had this vehicle, but they're kind of doing really terrible with sales, that they were like, how can we market it to how, our business is changing? And they decided, let's just create a software or insert a software that is going to cheat the emissions test, which basically the true emissions test revealed that it was like 9 times more dangerous emissions. I forgot what is it carbon? Is it nitrate? I forget what the emission is.
It failed like the test
like
9 times over. Yeah.
Almost to the point where it's like, you should not be breathing this air. If you're behind this car, like, you're gonna die.
It wasn't that bad. It was pretty bad though.
It was a shocking amount, especially like if I revert back to the documentary, I'm like, wow, how did this go on? And
first of all, I don't even know how Volkswagen has survived all the things that's ever happened to it.
Yeah.
Like their marketing,
the
for
Beetle,
some reason,
which had like recalled because they were just something
know.
about the Beetle. I remember the Beetle was recalled as well.
They were also like
a buggy. Beetle? Buggy.
They were also like the car used by the Nazi Party. Like, I don't know, just in World War II. I mean, they've done things and survived things. They've made decisions and survived those decisions in such interesting ways. And
we'll never know what really goes on unless we happen to find that old case file in Area 51 with all the secrets.
Conspiracies.
Yeah, that's so crazy. I know. I feel like I could go into a rabbit hole with conspiracies and stuff. Not that I necessarily believe them, but I think it's so exciting and interesting to even imagine
mystery.
It. Yeah, it's like a mystery. It's like
what
watching
happened
a movie
in that closed room that nobody knows about.
To speculate and to come up with your own. What the fuck did this? Oh, I thought. Yo, I'm so anal about the recording because of my last episode was so fucked, but so far so good. Audacity's doing well. The taping hasn't interrupted so much. Like if I didn't
interrupted once, right?
Once, but I think we're like within 2 minutes of like nothing that crazy.
Okay.
But yeah, yeah, I think it's a lot of businesses that, I think I don't know if it's still valid today, but I know a lot of businesses get taxed, or there's a certain fee that they pay if they have like a lot of waste, like either hazardous waste, whatever waste. And there's a lot of reports, and I don't have specifics of like companies in the past and maybe even now that try to manipulate the system to where they just throw their hazardous trash and dispose of it in not a good way, where it's actually dangerous for the environment. So I know that there are like companies that have to pay extra to dispose of their hazardous materials or whatever it is.
Whatever. Yeah, I mean,
it's a lot of companies. I know a lot of people now are more willing to go a little bit further in not messing up the world climate. Yeah. People are more readily available. So like if you have two products,
people aren't just like not avoiding. There's not only people trying to avoid it. There's people who are like counteracting all the things that we've done and
living so green.
It's becoming a part of the economy.
Yeah. There are people that are living so green that they're reversing how shitty I am, for instance. Not that I'm shitty, but like
there's a lot of things that we as a society learned to do that was completely like just not healthy behavior. Certain products that were just super bad for the environment.
I mean, who knows what stuff that we can consume now. I wasn't just clapping. I thought it was a fly. And that, I mean, we're a lot better as a people, and as long as we all agree that United States should not be the only country that doesn't agree with climate change, but we're all pretty much like conscientious enough. If there were two products side by side and one said it was better for the environment and it was just a little bit more expensive, I think we'd all pretty much still gravitate towards the better one.
Yeah.
And I think we're all in that level where like, I don't care if I save $1. I'd
We
rather.
also trust the system, you know. Like if it says that on the product, it better be true. Like
That's true.
Yeah.
What are the regulations on that?
I know
even?
some people who do some research, who do some like extensive research now before they pick a corporation. Like, you know, recently someone told me Horizon is a good company for milk or dairy products
Really?
because they're super or they're trying to be humane. So it's better to throw money their way so they can accomplish, you know, having those humane farms. But I don't know, like even then, like it's all marketing. Like I don't know what's really. You'd have to do some real research.
It's hard because you can be super, super vague in business, and there's so many loopholes and ways that you can hide and mask, and only until you're caught do you make that change, and only if it's made public will the people even know.
Yeah, they're releasing new GMO stickers.
What do you mean?
Like
because
I don't know. I don't know what it is. I'm not gonna call it anything. It's just there's just new stickers for because almost all wheat and corn, 90% of it is genetically modified. Like it's.
Thank you, Montesano, whatever. I'm kidding. I really don't know. I know that's beans, but.
Yeah, they've done some things.
Montesano, Montes something. There was something with them with GMOs and shit.
Yeah,
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but no one's watching, so no one will.
It's not that GMOs are bad. Like GMOs are good. It helps us prevent starvation and things. It should be isolated and controlled. It should be done right. There should be some professionals. You know, not anybody should be allowed to do it. There should be some protocol for it because it could really mess things up for everybody else.
Yeah.
If you mess up. So, yeah, I mean, but we're gonna need to do it. Like I don't think we have a choice. Like you can be against it, but it's gonna have to be done. So I don't know.
Well,
what to tell those people.
The alarming thing is just that people who are after financial gain or business success hold all the cards, and like honestly, unless someone's regulating them, which Trump's trying to take all that down, all these regulations, he just wants businesses to have a free-for-all and like suck his dick or something, like but that's the thing is like even when there are regulations, there's always some motherfucker that's out there just not doing things, like just able to get away with it.
Yeah, I mean,
and we're consuming that and living it or getting impacted environmentally.
Yeah, there's just a lot of products people can't keep up. People can't keep track of what's good and what's not. Who did the last wrong thing? It's too much. Like even like an airline can make a mistake and they can recover. Like,
yeah, it's because they know that
attention span is gone.
Attention span that's a huge thing, which is like Family Guy satired that point of like our attention span is so finite now, where everything has to happen within 6 seconds or we don't care or lose attention.
The effort in just I don't know, boycotting someone or something, just having a list of companies you boycott, keeping track of that list. If there's like a person who kept track of that for you, that'd be great. But like a consultant, you could tell them like, hey, if anybody has done X, Y, and Z, or even close to it, or even I don't want anything from them, and then that's it.
Yeah,
there isn't anything like that. So.
I don't think there's anything I've exclusively boycotted except for Uber, because Lyft is just a better alternative. But ever since that whole Uber shit came out, Lyft doesn't offer the same coupons that they used to, which used to keep me around. I used to use only Lyft because they used to get me coupons to take customers away from Uber. But now that they don't need to advertise, they don't give coupons. Lyft, give me coupons. I just want coupons. But it's still I think Lyft is reasonably priced considered how much cabs cost in the city.
Yeah, I mean, there's also Via, and there's other ones that like
Via.
as long as it's in the city, from place to place in the city, it's only $5.
What?
Always $5 cap.
You know about all these new things.
And
all these new things.
That one's a couple of years old now, so there might be new things I don't even know about.
Via, as long as it's within Manhattan.
Yeah, I don't know if it's grown since.
Yeah, well that's I feel like that sounds about right for a company that's pretty new. I can't imagine paying only $5 from LES all the way to the Bronx, but maybe they mean like not in the boroughs, just within.
Just
Manhattan.
the island, yeah.
Oh, okay.
From like downtown to 122nd or something. It's not bad.
Well, Ahmed, we're nearing the end of the show, and by nearing I mean we've pretty much prairie dogged into the end of the show. But maybe next time you're on, we'll have some updates on climate change and these dead zones. I'm very curious about these dead zones. I definitely want to do a little bit more research. Maybe that's all I have to know is that no life can exist. But it's kind of like
no,
what's in there, you know?
Yeah. Definitely. Like, why is it a dead zone?
Yeah.
Go ahead and look that up. Like, I'll tell you. Like,
yeah.
Go see for yourself. Just
Bermuda triangles popping up all over the place. What? Okay. But yeah, like
you know
seriously.
What's funny? Like so methane, when it like melts, it goes from a frozen state or a liquid state to a gas state. It's invisible. You can't see it. But if it's released at the bottom of the ocean, it might be like a tiny bubble this big, right? Oh. But by the time it like leaves the surface of the ocean, it's like a huge. It's big enough to like it might be big enough to like sink a ship.
You think maybe it in part is because gas particles that are gas atoms that are within the water kind of they bond with what's in the methane? Because I mean, water's H2O.
Oh no, I think
it becomes a whole other compound.
It's just melting at the bottom of the ocean. You know what I mean?
So I wonder why it's strange, like this, and then
because of pressure. There's mad pressure at the bottom of the ocean.
Oh, that makes sense. It's not that much science.
As it goes up, there's less pressure, so it expands. So the methane in its gas state would probably go, it would go up. It would just keep going up.
I didn't know that, and now you know.
I think so.
Like I said, if you're a scientist, just let us know. Just get into my inbox, which I don't have an inbox.
I don't know how far up it would go. Probably pretty high though.
But yeah, maybe next episode maybe we can talk conspiracy theories. I feel like you'd get so annoyed.
We can like dance between what we don't know and what conspiracy theorists say. There's a couple ones online. Well, it's done, so it's fine. Okay. You know what? No, I'm gonna put it on because for the end. Just keep going. For the end, I mean, I'll just cut whatever out. It's just easier for me to line it up. But yeah, I mean, there's a couple conspiracies online that I've watched that were like super interesting, like the conspiracy on the Titanic. Not that it sank, but that there was an alternate ship that basically didn't have insurance on it, and something about insurance and that ship already being messed up, but they didn't have insurance to fix it. So the conspiracy is that they sunk it on purpose?
That they changed the name. So the ship that was supposed to go out to voyage was the Titanic. And let's say the ship that was messed up is the Olympus or some shit like that. And so they just basically painted over the name so that they can say that that's a Titanic and this is the Olympus. And so they sank it on purpose to fix the ship or whatever it is. For the insurance reasons. Something like that. There's more to it. It's a lot longer, but like there's the reasons why it's interesting is because there's like pictures of what the other ship looked like, and that the Titanic originally was not like the way the portholes and stuff like that. Of course, you know, everything is to paint a picture in the listener's mind, and you take it how you would.
Conspiracy
it's
is
cool.
like an art.
I like it. It's
like
so fun.
Art.
Yeah, I'm probably not good at conspiracy theories.
It's funny because it like trolls people.
Yeah.
who don't realize it's an art being presented.
Yeah, but it's also like, you know, you take the information as you would. Because, like, I looked up the information and I'm presenting you the story, and they may be facts, but if the facts painted in specific lights could, you know, put another idea into your head. And that's how conspiracy theories work. And, like, all this stuff about, like, the Freemasons and shit. Well, that's like super interesting. Freemasons I believe it is. Yeah. But like
they were just
the capacity.
It was like a social network. Mm-hmm. They were pen pals.
But like aside from Freemasons, but other organizations that existed in that era of the Freemasons,
like
that
Illuminati.
There's another one too that's named after someone in there. I forgot what it is, but I mean that's just a topic for another day.
There's still Freemasons. There's a lodge.
I believe so. It's evolved into something else that's like not really what the Freemasons were before.
It's the same. It's just different. It's a different group of people.
Yeah. But yeah, let's Oh my god, I was like theories. About to like go into the whole conspiracy theories, but yeah, man, it's so easy to talk for more than an hour on this thing. I feel like we've talked for about 30 minutes, but like really it's been about an hour and a half. I'm still getting the hang of this, but I think this has been probably the most successful podcast that I've had so far. I mean, granted, everything looks shiny and new because I've got some new equipment and I've picked up a couple things that I didn't want that I've heard on the other podcasts, and I was like, I say the word like a lot. I just said it about 3 other times before saying that sentence. But anyway, great episode. Always a good time talking to Ahmed. We're probably going to continue this conversation off camera. But yeah. Thanks for listening. Tune in to next week where I don't know who's going to be here, but if no one wants to hang out with me, I'm going to be talking about The Handmaid's Tale because I've been itching to freaking talk about that. But yeah. Anything to say to my 2 listeners?
Well, thanks for having me. To you, first of all. And thanks for listening to Noelle.
Yeah.
Totally support her. Help her out.
Oh, on my last podcast, I got the name wrong. It's Patreon. I said it was Podiant, which is my hosting site. Patreon. So yeah, I haven't really set up my Patreon account so well yet. But if you haven't heard about Patreon yet, look it up. It's really cool. It helps support creatives or projects like this, where you can help fund it and make it a better experience for yourself and future listeners. So yeah, that's my bet. Tune in next week, where we'll either be talking about Handmaid's Tale or another podcast full of tangents. All right, guys. Talk to you next week.